Hello and welcome to Jackson's Job. This is the place where things can and often go wrong while baking. You'll see how to fix recipes when they go upside down and how to avoid those common mistakes. Let's learn how to bake chocolate macarons. Here are the ingredients you'll need if you want to follow along, and we'll give you two different types of fillings to go along the way. You will need some parchment paper or a silicone mat for this recipe. Now, the silicone mats can be wonderful or they can be a curse. If you live in a high humid climate, they can actually cause you a lot of problems. And if you have pets, you can have fur stick to the surface. It's like notorious for holding on to stuff like lint and fur and even people hair. One option you can do if you live in a humid climate is put some parchment paper over top of the silicone mat so you get the pattern still, or you can just use parchment paper like I am going to do here. Next, you're going to need a number 12 piping tip, 7 millimeters or about 1/4 of an inch. Then I like to use a 16-inch piping bag or about 40 centimeters. Cut off the tip of the bag, put in your piping tip, nestle it in and give it a little twist to help lock it in place. Then I like to just pop it into a cup and that just helps me pour the batter in later. Set this aside and then we're going to work on our ingredients. When making macarons, I really recommend you weigh them out as opposed to using a measuring cup. The first thing you want to do is separate out 2 egg whites. You don't need yolks for this recipe, so you can use it in any other recipe you like. Make an omelet or something. Now I like to sift out my ingredients at least a few times, and I like to use wax paper underneath it. You're going to need a 1/2 cup of ground almonds, that's 50 grams. 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder, 10 grams. And then you're going to need your powdered sugar, which is 3/4 of a cup of powdered sugar or 90 grams. Now that's just an approximate for the measurement. You really want 90 grams. So again, you really want to try to weigh out these ingredients if you have that option for you. Then you just want to sift it. As you can see, when it comes to cocoa powder and powdered sugar, it tends to be lumpy. So you really want to take your time and sift it. Now you may have some excess ground almonds. What I recommend is not to put that into your batter. Weigh it out, and if it's more than 1 gram, you're going to need to add in some more almonds. But if it's less than 1 gram, you can just toss them. You can eat them as you're going. Now for best results, I like to sift this more than 1 time, 2 to 3 times, and you'll get a really nice smooth cookie with a really shiny shell. It's worth the effort here, and it only takes a few moments. Once you have this all sifted, you're going to go on to beating your egg whites. You need 2 large egg whites, 60 grams, and then to that you're going to add in 2 tablespoons, 1/8 of a cup, or 30 grams of granulated sugar. Again, this is where it's really important to measure out your ingredients by weighing them if you have access to a scale. You want to beat these until they are just a soft peak. Do not beat these until they are a stiff peak. You want them to be really nice and soft like this. You should be able to turn your bowl upside down and the egg white should stay. Once you have it to this stage, we're going to mix in that cocoa and almond mixture from earlier. Now you're just going to cut through the middle and fold around the outside. And you do this gently. At first it doesn't look like your meringue is going to ever incorporate with that cocoa powder mixture, but trust me, it will. Just keep folding gently. You will start to see it come together. The batter will start to slowly deflate and it will start to take on this glossy appearance. It will still stick to your spatula at first. It's not ready. Just keep giving it a couple folds, scraping off that spatula every once in a while, and then checking the batter to see how it falls. It will start to fall off of your spatula, and then after a while it will start to ribbon. This can take anywhere from 20 to 40 folds. It depends on how vigorous you are when it comes to folding. What you're looking for the batter to do is ribbon off in a nice gentle stream and then just collapse back into the batter within 10 to 30 seconds. Now you can check it every once in a while. See how that batter is just sitting on top? It's not ready at all. But now see how it's starting to stream off into a ribbon? This is when you really want to pay attention. I like to stop and count every 10 seconds when I'm new to this or I haven't made them in a while. That way I can ensure I don't overmix them. Undermixing a macaron is much better than overmixing them because you can tap out the shells if you undermix them, but if you overmix them, you've ruined them. See how it's now ribboning off really nicely? Just give it a 10-second count, see if it sinks back down into that batter. If not, give it another fold and repeat the process. Look how shiny it's starting to look. You really know you're getting close when it gets really nice and shiny and smooth, and it kind of looks like melted ice cream. At this point, transfer the mixture into your piping bag. When you transfer the mixture into the bag, be careful not to deflate the batter. Let it pour into the bag instead of scraping it out excessively. Then twist the top to close it. Hold the bag vertically to the parchment paper and squeeze gently but firmly 3 to 5 seconds. Then release, lift the nozzle, and move over a few centimeters or half an inch and squeeze again. Repeat this step until you run out of batter or room on the parchment paper. If you did this correctly, they should smooth out pretty nicely, and then you're just going to set them aside until a skin forms. And you should be able to touch them with your finger, and no batter should be on your finger when you're done. That takes anywhere from 15 minutes to 2 hours depending on the humidity in your room. I'm sorry I can't give you more of a judgment, but for me, I have a really humid environment and it usually takes at least 45 minutes to 60 minutes. Once they are dry to the touch, you want to preheat your oven to 300 degrees Fahrenheit or 150 degrees Celsius and bake them 18 to 20 minutes. Pull them gently off of your baking sheet, and sometimes they will stick to your parchment paper. That's okay. That's normal for the ones with the chocolate. If you bake them too long, they become hard and crunchy, so it's slightly better to underbake them than to overbake them. Next, let's make a couple fillings. Again, using a 16-inch piping bag, just because you get more control, and a number 12 tip, which is 7 millimeters again. I'm going to give you a couple filling options. We're going to use a 1/4 cup of softened butter, 56 grams, and we're going to beat this until it's nice and smooth. These are the two most popular fillings for my chocolate macarons. I get this requested the most, so I figured I'd show you both at once. Next, we're going to add in 3/4 of a cup of powdered sugar. That's 100 grams. And again, if you notice, this 3/4 of a cup is 100 grams. The other one is 90. That is on purpose. I weighed out the ingredients and I'm trying to give you the closest cup measurement possible. Once you get all the powdered sugar combined, add in 2 tablespoons of cocoa powder. That's 10 grams. And then just mix it until it's nice and smooth. It should look like this. At this point, it is ready for piping, but if you wanted to thin it out, you can put in 1 to 2 teaspoons of milk. That's 5 to 10 milliliters. And now you just scrape it in your piping bag and you are ready to pipe your macarons. Now you just want to dollop a little bit on each cookie. Don't go all the way to the edge, because if you do, they're going to just ooze out the sides when you place them together. Now, if you want to make a peanut butter filling, you're going to need a 1/4 cup of softened butter, 56 grams, and a 1/4 cup of peanut butter, that's 66 grams. You want to beat this together until it's really nice and smooth. Pay attention so you don't have any lumps of butter in your buttercream. That's really hard to say. Once it looks like this, we're going to add in our powdered sugar. You want to add a little bit at a time. You're needing 3/4 of a cup or 100 grams. Mix it in slowly so you won't get a gritty buttercream. It should look like this in the end. And then again, you're going to put it into a piping bag, and then you're just going to pipe it onto your cookies. Maggie loves the smell of peanut butter, so she's coming to inspect what I'm doing. I'm really sorry, girl. This recipe isn't safe for you, but we will give you some macarons in the future. Maggie loves macarons. Her nickname is Maggie Macaron, but she really hates when I make the chocolate ones, so then she just pouts the whole time. It makes you feel so sad, but don't worry, she's well loved. Again, like before, you just want to dollop on a little bit in the center and leave a little bit of an edge around it. And if you want to just really have at it and really put on a ton of peanut butter frosting, nobody's going to judge you. But to get the pretty shell, you just want a little bit. You want to just be able to see that frosting just hint through like this. And then it's just the perfect amount of buttercream to cookie. Let's open one of these up and let you look at it. It's absolutely delicious. This really tastes like a brownie. And using whatever filling you like, you're going to have a wonderful cookie. You can even eat these by themselves like I often do. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. Thank you for visiting, and as always, happy baking.